This is simply just a survey that we're providing the information to the city. The city, we highly recommend that the city have the contractor install these backflow devices.
Okay, well, what I'd like at the end of the day, after we finish all this, I'd like a list of what's required per TCEQ, state, federal laws, doesn't matter. Because that's the kind of thing we can look to enforce. If it's a private development and they recommend something, or don't do it. But I know it's a survey, but I think what we're looking for is things that need correcting. So we want that specifically spelled out in addition to the things that you found. We need to know what is required, because the State Farm Marshal's been there several times, and OSHA and several other people. So if you found something that's required by law, that's what we want from you. So we can get with them on what needs to be correcting, and it's a law, so you have no choice.
Right, and that's lined out, that's why we put in there, you know, it's required by 30 TAC
I know,
290.
but see, that's convoluted. The whole survey is in there, what you found right and what you found wrong. What I want is a list of the wrongs, that we can enforce that list. Because see, I can't give them that because none of us totally understand it. But if it says, you know, this is what you have and this is what required per that, then we can have them follow, check off, and make sure those things that you found on our behalf get corrected that are required to be corrected. Okay?
Sure.
Thank you. I'm sorry, Councilman Jones.
You say the backwash for the pool is tied into the storm system without an approved air gap separating the storm water collection system from the pool. What is that?
Where are you reading that at?
The
Backwash for the pool is tied into the storm system, yes, without an approved air gap, so that's.
I'm sorry, I just have to read the last line. You say the backwash should be tied into the sanitary system with an approved air gap. Site has private lift station.
That's correct. So anytime the water from the pool is, you waste the water from the pool since it has chemicals in it, mainly chlorine, sometimes muriatic acid, depending if what you're trying to balance the pH with. Those chemicals should go into the sanitary system so that way they can be processed at the wastewater treatment facility. They shouldn't go into the storm system, because once they go into the storm system, you're now putting chemicals in the storm where there's fish, and you can cause, animal, aquatic life, to die.
So, you make a backflow recommendation. Is this all the things in which you saying that? Because I see as it outlines in the 30 TAC, the air gap. This is basically all the things that you're saying are required.
Yes.
Of them to do, right? So this is the mayor's list in which he's asking.
Yes. Basically.
Okay, so when he comes back, I just circle it.
Councilman.
I have a question, so just back up a little bit. I know earlier when we were talking about the flow test, you said that you haven't talked to Ms. Cortez. And so with her being the main point of contact, how many documents were needed that you haven't talked to Ms. Cortez for?
Well, we just came and picked up what we were told was here, available and ready for us to review. So if there's additional documents that, which just came to my attention tonight, if there's additional documents that we need to review, then I can request those from Ms. Cortez.
So are there other documents outside of the flow test that were needed or that you haven't received a copy for review and submittal that is a possibility that Ms. Cortez had that you didn't ask about?
That's correct, yes.
Council, just for clarification for city council, as you know, we've been asking and talking about this for some time. We gave the mayor 30 days to get all these documents and get in addition to together. And then what I asked for was the same information on these 3 projects. The contractors got all the information on those 3 projects that the city had. There was no additional, we can go back and ask for a specific flow test to see if that was something that was included in the computer. But I'm telling you, I'm saying that this documents were all the documents that were provided just on Panther Hill on everything that was in our file. And so when we're saying, when you're saying that I didn't go back and ask for this, is because it should have been in the file the first time when we got all the information. Thank you.
Hold on. Councilman Rowland, you are very misleading. He just said he didn't ask the lady who has the file, and you're saying it was supposed to be in the file. It may be in the file, it hadn't been asked for. So for you to say,
I'm saying that this is the file.
that's not a file,
She
that's a
provided-
Bureau Veritas file.
No, this came
No.
from, this is the problem, Mr. Mayor, I'm not, and I don't wanna call you out, cause this is nothing about none of us, we're accepting a report.
But he said
Again,
he didn't ask the lady for what you're
The-
asking for.
if I said, where is the file for Panther Hill? Everything that's on Panther Hill should be in the file,
There's no way,
and
there's no way. That shows your lack of knowledge as to the process up here. There's a lot of paperwork, you might have that on X number of buildings, inspection reports, Mr. Byers,
Mr. Mayor, why are
you
you
were,
defending?
you
We're
were,
just trying to
you
get some
were,
information.
no, I know, but you need to understand where to get your information and what's out there
Mr. Mayor, you
first.
had 30 days to provide us this, and you
I
provided
don't
us
have
nothing.
30 days to provide you anything.
That's why we're
You've
doing
been
it.
dealing with this thing for 60 days, and you obviously show
Really
you
only
can't
been
come up
30.
with it.
It's only been 30. but
Okay,
keep
it's been
going.
30, so where's it at? You gave me 30, now you had 30,
It's
you
right in
don't
front
have
of
it.
you, it's in front of you.
And you don't
It's
have
in
it.
front of you,
No, that's not in front of me.
it's in front of you.
Mr. Mayor,
Yeah,
all right.
yes, Councilman Jones.
Mr. Court, what do you say?
Feelings, 'cause you
Hey,
can't
Rock,
protect them.
Councilmember Rowland.
No, I don't need protecting. I don't have anybody I need to protect. I don't have an investment in it.
One order.
We'll tell the councilman to be quiet. Go ahead.
All right, so what you said, backflow recommendations, this is basically the requirement for the mayor purposes for council, could you just change recommendations to requirements?
Sure.
And that'll help us out.
No, no.
Also-
He doesn't have to do that, that's his recommendation to us.
No,
No, if
but,
it's a law.
but, so what the, I agree.
What I can provide, I'll provide the subchapter rules and regulations from TCEQ, and I'll list specifically what we notated as needed, that needs to be, that's required to.
Yes, sir,
to
thank
happen.
you. I agree, I agree, we're all on the same board, that he gave us what we call it in the word recommendation, but what he brought us back was what they needed to get done. And so the mayor asked that it be requirements, cause it is a private development, which he said that I agree, right, that it's requirements. But let's just change it, one word to requirements, so that way we won't play off, if we go by another 30 days, that it wasn't done. So thank you, USW, thank you, Trilogy, look forward to you guys' report. And thank you for the information we provided with us
So
today.
City Council, before you have the 16-page report, which is listed on here, there is, like the other information that you're looking at from Paramount, y'all should have received that as well. And that goes into the 11-page document that talks about the backflow survey and information that Mr. Bostic is talking about. So again, this is just, again, a preliminary report. I think, Mr. Mayor, you received this on October 8th. And it was in an email, it went to all the attorneys, and it went to the mayor in the email. And so, the goal of this document was, the goal of USW was to look at those three developments and say, this is where we're at this moment. These are the things that need to happen, and then that gives direction on where the city needs to go in the next place. Remember, this is only preliminary. We got some of the recommendations from the mayor, Councilman Jones. As we talk about the other piece to this, Mr. Bostic, I don't know, is there anything else that you needed to share with us in reference to? Because there was some information about connections. We talked about connection flow, we talked about capacity, and there was a discrepancy between whether USW needed to do that versus the city engineer. Can you talk to us about that, which again leads us to the conversation that Economic 4B was trying to have earlier?
Right, and I think at this point, USW and Trilogy need to sit and collaborate a little bit as far as, and I agree that there needs to be some process, some type of protocol as far as documentation and who does what, and we all need to be on the same page. And I think that we need to continue that dialogue and figure that out and then bring it back to the city's attention. And I can add that to this report as well.
The third, group, is not here. Bureau Veritas, as I've reached out to them, I also contacted Ms. Donnell Rogers. I think she's the Houston Division Manager. She said she would not talk to us, will not do anything without, the mayor asking her to. And so, from them, Bureau Veritas is the one who does our inspection and gives us the reports. We got their information. We just need to, what I was trying to do is set up an opportunity for Ms. Donnell Rogers to come down and talk to, walk us through what we're currently doing with Bureau Veritas. And she said she's not gonna do anything to talk to me. She said have the mayor, to call me. So I want to either recommend that city council, we move forward with getting rid of Bureau Veritas or requiring them to come to the city, or actually, we've asked the mayor to ask them to come. And so I don't know necessarily, maybe we need to formally ask him to ask for the next meeting or some sort, because again, I think Councilman Wallace had the same issue. We've been talking about this for 18 months in reference to the reports of Bureau Veritas.
Let me respond to that though. Ms. Rogers called me this afternoon, said you just spoke with her, and she is simply following the contract that you signed, you were involved with, before me and most of these folks were even up
Yes,
here.
sir.
It says they deal with the mayor. You voted on that, I wasn't even here. So I told her to, yes, talk with Councilman Rowland, give him whatever else he needs. And she's been here a few times. Chris Haver's been here a few times. You keep throwing that out there like these folks aren't coming here, and they've been here. She called me this afternoon, so she just heard from you.
We reached out to her at the beginning of this process. We reached out, so this is,
He asked
like,
for a
I
date.
don't want to go back and forth with the mayor. Mr. Mayor, if you could just allow me to talk. We asked 30 days ago, prior to this 30 days, for you to handle this situation, to get us the reports that your office has, which is the city for these three developments. We asked for Bureau Veritas, we asked for USW, and for Trilogy. You did not do that. City Council asked for the Mayor Pro Tem to move forward with getting the documents. My only goal was to contact those three entities to get the developments that the documents the city of Prairie View had into the hands of the appropriate people. That was my task. So, Mr. Mayor, you can stop pointing, trying to shift this. The conversation was Bureau Veritas. The lady told me again, after I reached out to her today, Bureau Veritas, we just had their contract at the last meeting. We contacted Bureau Veritas at the beginning of this process. You had a meeting with Bureau Veritas, USW, and Trilogy, and moved the meeting from the city of Prairie View because you knew I was coming and had it on campus. So don't play these games. This was in the last 30 days, so don't play these games.
You're not that important for me to move a meeting.
Okay.
We didn't even know you were coming.
Okay.
At the bistro.
Okay.
And you met with these people.
Mr. Mayor, you were on the email. You were on the email when we're trying to get the documents.
Next item.
Mr. No.
Okay, then where you at?
I have,
Go ahead.
I guess two things. My first question was, I guess for the attorney, the mayor stated that Bureau, our contract under Bureau Veritas says they can only operate under the directive of the mayor. So being that the council took action to make Councilman Rowland the point of contact as far as that process works, what is that? How does that affect or change that process? Does it still have to come from the directive from the mayor, or?
Well,
So-
let me clear that up though. They received that today, but like Councilman Rowland said, he just called her today, and she called me today, and I said, yes, you have that.
I'm gonna be truthful. I have a hard time believing that.
He just said he called them today.
Yeah, I think this was the follow-up.
It was a
conversation.
follow-up.
I have a hard time believing that he contacted everyone else in the equation without contacting Bureau Veritas.
What do they need to do so that we can move on past this small stuff? They need to direct Bureau Veritas to speak to Councilman Rowland, is that what he needs?
No, you just have to
Please
make
make
a
a
motion.
motion.
There's no-
It's already been done, it's already been done. I mean, the action that was taken by city council does make him the mayor for the purposes of that contract. She
Can we
didn't
just
call and
say-
ask me,
Can-
you know,
Can
so
we
if
just
she
send a
would have, I
letter
would
to
have.
Bureau Veritas? This is not the first time I tried to contact him. Again, as I talked about this process. This is not a process about Brian Rowland. The city council voted to take up this process that the mayor had the opportunity to get us the information. I contacted everybody 30 days ago and we had a telephone conversation. I asked for the city secretary to be on the conversation. She was not able to get on, but the other vendors were. We talked about the scope of work and what we was gonna do moving forward. Again, Ms. Rogers, who's the manager in Houston, said she was not talk to me. I said that city council voted to do this, so if you could provide a letter or email to her. All I was trying to do was get Ms. Rogers to set up an opportunity to come to City Hall, to come to our meeting, to talk us through the final COs. That was the part of the process that the engineers had asked us about, and that we needed to have this further discussion on where are we at. What we'll find out is that the developments for Panther Hill, that's the only one occupied, they're still working off of temporary COs. And we need to resolve that issue. And so, again, this is part of why Bureau Veritas has not come to the meeting. Now, so again, if we can get an email that goes from our city attorney to Bureau Veritas, allowing Ms. Rogers to also let Christopher Haver, and what's the other lady, Councilman Wallace?
It's Rogers, I know Herschel Lee was.
No, it's just Miss
Yeah, it's
Rogers and
Rogers
Mr.
and-
Haver, those two, to give us any information about those three developments, if I can get them, if you can send that email and copy me on the email, please.
So,
Next, what's next? Councilor Randall. What else you got?
so I guess my question is for Councilman Rowland. What is the next step of this process? Because right now, we're in a position where the information is still incomplete, so what does council need to do today to help you move this?
The two things that council needed to do today is council needed to be aware that there are currently no plans for Panther Hill and the gates of Prairie View, and the mayor has said that those plans will be made available tomorrow.
Well, they said there wouldn't be plans for the gates of Prairie View because there's no development. That's what it's saying.
Yeah, even if they put in a permit, they have a permit and they pay fees, so they
So
put in, they should have plans,
right?
right? And so,
The plans are with the respective engineers.
right.
That's what I told you an hour ago.
Correct. So this is the issue, right, council? You asked the question. Civil engineering plans needed to be done on all three developments. On this sheet, it says who's the structural engineer and who's the mechanical engineer for each of the developments.
Councilman Rowland,
And
where do we need to go forward? We
Well,
know
the
where
forward-
we are.
the
We know where we are.
the forward is, we need the drawings, we need the civil engineering drawings for both the developments that currently we have applications for and have made payments for. Regardless of who has it, we should have a copy in the city of Prairie View.
We'll get that.
So does that require council action? What,
The mayor says they should, oh,
in
okay.
the event, and then in the event that
Okay.
these plans don't
We need,
exist?
then if they don't exist,
What's
we
the
need to
next
shut, my recommendation is if we do not have the plans that we should have in this building, when we come back, the projects need to be shut down until we have the plans.
I would not recommend that you do that because you do not know whether
Thank
or
you.
not the plans were given to
Was
the
submitted.
city and the city lost them and they were all appropriate.
Well, no, but
Or-
this is, but again,
or if
he
not.
asked with city council, so this is the thing. The mayor I wanna be very clear. The mayor controls the process in which you're talking about. City council doesn't have but very little things, and the only thing we can do is the mayor can go to the developer or can go to the engineer that he says have these plans and get us the plans. The
That's
mayor is
true.
the one in the middle, so council can't do that. And so we only have one thing we can do, and that's to say we're gonna shut the project, halt the project, until we get the information. Now, who can get us the information? The mayor. So that's what I'm saying. I'm saying simply is all we want is.
Nonetheless, I would not recommend you do that
Thank you.
because the city council acting on behalf of the city, regardless of whether whose fault it is still the one who's going to be liable. You certainly could, as a city council, direct the mayor that if the plans aren't found tomorrow, that he go back to Panther Hills, find out who the engineer was who stamped the plans to begin with, and that the city pay to get the plans again, if they were provided to begin with, and that he get the plans. I wouldn't shut the process down if you don't know that that party is at fault. I understand that a lot of people think they may be at fault, and they may be. I have no idea. No one's reviewed the plans yet. But we do not know that they didn't act 100% in accordance with everything, and that it wasn't some mess up on the city's end. So I would, if you can't find the plans, I would recommend that you direct the city get the plans.
Councilman Randall?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
I move that the city provide the civil engineering plans, and if the plans aren't available, that the city, goes out and purchases the plans. Wait. Purchase the plans necessary so the city can have the plans.
Yeah,
70 days.
Second.
So, I'm sorry, you authorized the purchase of that? Because that's an
Yes, but we
expensive,
have
okay,
to
yeah.
unready.
So are we authorizing the
We
purchase?
hold up, we got a motion on the floor.
Authorizing the purchase.
The motion is that city, locate the civil plans, and if the plans cannot be located, that the city purchase a copy of the civil plans. For the motion, ready for the question?
Already.
Councilman Randall?
So we're authorizing an expenditure, how does that work as far as budgetary? Is it, I mean, does it, where would it come from, I guess? JJ, where would that come from out of the budget?
Two things, I will lead back, so two things to lead to help the,
Hold on,
the fund.
Councilman Randall has the floor.
It's illegal.
No.
This would be, that would be illegal.
How?
No,
That's
Well,
not legal.
what you're trying to get,
Civil engineering plans would not be legal.
well, it can go, it depends on,
No, JJ,
well, the line item for that would be, it's a legal matter.
that's,
I'm just telling you, it's a legal matter.
how?
Because you're trying to find,
Civil engineering plans?
well,
Be a legal
but you're gonna have to pay for it.
Because he's saying at this point, it becomes a legal
Yeah.
matter, because either we lost them or we don't have them. And so for us to prove,
No, what, if we don't have them, then it's up to then it's the responsibility of the development to provide them. If we lost them, then we have to, correct me if I'm wrong, right?
No, you're right, I'm just saying you're not gonna know which it is.
right, which is why I'm saying, I wanna pull back two things. When we talk about cost, we have, in the scope of work from the engineer, I don't know what getting a copy of plans will cost.
Less than $1,000.
Okay, we have the money, so remember, council approved $15,000 at the last meeting. We ain't spent nowhere near that. We have money to get these plans, but I want us to be very clear of what we're asking to do. We're asking to pay money on something that we should have 2 copies already received at City Hall.
We should, but we don't. We
Yeah, but-
don't have them.
yeah,
So what do
so
you
we don't
want
have
us
the
to
plan
do?
of action. So
Like,
yeah,
if we don't
we
have
forced to
them,
do this.
we don't have them.
That'll come on the engineering.
We never received 2 copies of civil plans. If you
We
read,
should have one, for sure.
we received 1 set of civil plans that goes to the civil engineer, and 2 sets of the others that go to Bureau Veritas. If you read the application for a permit, it never says 2 sets of civil plans. So we'll never have 2 sets here, because they, 2 never comes in.
So no,
That's
we
the
give us, the process is we get an amount. I didn't say we give them, we give them out to whoever is supposed to be looking at the work. We should have 1 copy in here.
So if we didn't have a civil engineer, who do we give the plans to?
He can't tell you.
There's no plans.
They went, at the time the plans went to the civil engineer that Councilman Rowland was involved in hiring, Mr. Londell. I'm telling you.
They could melt in the first place.
Well, hold on, Mr. Bostic. I think you and, Mr. Byron were there when we were doing the flow test at the fire meter across the street.
Yes.
And we thought there were pressure issues. And the engineer came out that day, Mr. Linedecker. I don't know what y'all talking about.
That was crazy. He never signed on the plan because he said that their plumbing wasn't right, their road wasn't
Well, then he saw his
right.
plans.
I'm just saying.
How can he not sign off on plans unless he received them? Do you all understand what you're saying?
Mr. Mayor, call for the question.
Hey, hold on, real quick.
Call for the question.
The end result
All
is the
those in
same.
favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed have the same right? Well, this is what, two?
Aye.
Oh, okay, it passed.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes,
That was
Councilman
just-
Wallace was next.
Okay.
I was just gonna say, put a timeline on that, So I move that we put the timeline on the motion that Councilman Randall said, and put 10 days.
Second.
The motion
So
has
yeah,
been properly seconded to put 10 days on what specifically? What action? No, you made the motion, what is it?
To Councilman Randall's motion, which was to get the civil engineering plans to the proper people that need it. In 10 days, if we don't have it in 10 days, then we're gonna go with the secondary plan, which is to get it.
Okay, 10 to get it, and then after that, buy it? I just
No,
want
no,
to make sure it's clear.
10 all inclusive,
Yeah.
10 days to.
Well, if you have to purchase it, it might take longer.
But you can still have them purchased, even if you don't receive them in 10 days, you can have them purchased in 10 days. So 10 days to either find them or to purchase them.
Just for council clarification,
Well, we need to
if we put the
put
10
the
days,
findings.
that's gonna put all the reports off, so just so we know.
so I have a friendly amendment. I say, 3 days, and find the report, and then you give them 2 days to buy it, so it's 5 days total.
No, everybody makes.
And so that gives them time to keep the report on time.
I would agree, we need a few days to review and write the report. If you want us to have our final report by the next council meeting, we do need to get it in-house, get a chance to review it, get a chance to write the report, and be able to present it next council meeting.
Yeah, and if it be okay with you gentlemen, I'd like your assistance in making sure we get it from the requisite people. It's not,
I accept that.
okay. All those in favor say aye. Motion passed.
I got a question.
Did,
Ms. Bonner,
was
do
there
you
a
have-
second on that friendly amendment?
Yeah. you-
Okay, sorry.
Ms. Bonner, do you have that 3 days for the
find 2
city,
days to
and
buy it.
then 2 days, and 2 days that they buy it?
Okay, item 12, discuss and take action on amendment for USW contract. We've already, okay, what else you have on it?
So we have the plans that need to be done, we have the email that's gonna be from the attorney that's gonna go to Bureau Veritas, requesting for them to give us their, the report on, final, COs for Panther Hill. And then Bureau Veritas, because they have operated in this kind of capacity, if we wanted Ms. Rogers to come and give just like the other two companies came to give the presentation, so we can answer any questions, so that,
So once the letter's been sent, you can direct all of that.
Exactly.
Once the letter's been sent,
If,
It's on you.
if I might point out, at your last city council meeting, when you extended Bureau Veritas's contract, it was going to be 60 days, you amended it to be only 30 days, so they need to be at the next meeting regardless.
Yeah, but we did that 60 days ago, and they ain't come.
Now, on the 14th
No.
of October, you extended it for 30 days.
Yes, ma'am,
So
but,
that's what I'm saying, at the next meeting, they're gonna have to be here anyway.
no, what I'm saying is that we already did that, so we asked for them to come when we had the first contract, which was 60 days. They never came, because they were supposed to come to the meeting before last, and then Ms. Bonnie told me to send an email upon what I had, what my list of questions was. I sent that, and she still didn't come, so how do we, they haven't came in the 60 days.
if they don't come, we're not renewing that contract.
Can you
That-
include
that-
that in your
that-
email
that's-
since you're
That's my point,
contacting them?
that's my point, that they have to be here if they want their contract renewed again
Okay.
anyway.
We're not big
So
on
they can do the report and be here for their contract.
So you can include the meeting that we want them at in the same email you're sending. Okay. Anything else on this? That was it. Okay, item 12, discuss and take action on amendment for USW contract. Councilman Jones, what you got?
I was letting Mr. Boswell, I seen that he made some changes. I'm sorry, I had a little bit of time to review. I'm pretty sure Councilman Rowland had reviewed, we had asked for a breakdown. I seen that you had sent it in our email, so.
If you could point out the substantive changes, I think that would let us get to it.
Okay, so basically, we just changed the section 7.0 term from 5-year to 3-year. And then section 7.10 termination from 90 days to a 60-day written notice. We also added the tasks that will be performed on an annual basis for the city. Some of those tasks are daily tasks, some of those tasks happen on the weekends, bi-weekly, monthly, quarterly, depending on what the task is. Then we also were asked to provide our operations summary sheet, which is basically a breakdown of how we came about the monthly fees for operations for the city of Prairie View. So we provided that, and that was it. Hopefully we can.
Councilman Rodney, any additional questions?
I reviewed it and I had a conversation with Mr. Bostic, in reference to the changes. I think the attorney also talked to Ms. Griffin, Attorney Griffin in reference to this. The changes were made. My only concern was we asked for the breakdown of aid when we had the public meeting. And we asked what we were going to, I still didn't see it, maybe what we were gonna get. Remember we asked for the list of things?
Yes, and that's on page 2, begins on page 2 of the contract. I don't know if you.
Yeah, this was this was in the last one when we had our public works meeting, when we had the workshop. But we asked for, like, so this is kinda like what we're gonna do on a daily or what we're gonna do monthly. We remember we talked about, like we said, we're gonna do the survey.
So the summary sheet that he sent?
Summary.
The summary sheet was just a breakdown of the
Yeah, the
prices.
summary sheet wasn't, summary sheet is a breakdown of cost, but what I wanted him to so like what we were trying to do was identify, these are the 5 things these are the 5 or 10 things that we were going to get at the end that may be phased in the first part, that may be phased in the second part with going with USW. Did we not talk? We talked about doing like, specifically, I think it was a line, it was a meter audit. We talked about increasing accountability, we talked about the meter exchange, and we talked about how long it took to do that audit, and then how those types of things. Where is that listed?
Right, so that's in here. Let's see, we have valve and hydrant survey, manhole survey. Let's see, meter audit, assist the city with the meter audit. That's listed as needed. So that's going to be the first thing that we do. I can tell you that right now, just by listening to some of the discussions about the billing and everything that's going on. I've already had some discussions with Ms. Durham. That's number 1 on our agenda. So this is a breakdown of all the tasks that we're going to perform for the city, and it's general.